Hey guys, Aqua Duelist here, and this video idea was actually recommended to me by a friend, and I really enjoy it, so I decided I'm not going to hold off on it. I really want to do this today. Um, so today I'm going to give you guys my top 5 personal favorite tech options for Dinomist. I'm not saying these are the best 5 tech options, but these are the ones I enjoy the most, and they're pretty solid. Two things that aren't going to be on this list I've decided is Fairy Tale Luna, because that is kind of a staple, I feel, mainly for the board control variants. However, though, if you are running it and you are running a Cleave Genius, you should try running one Jizukiru. Would work really well with the Fairy Tale Lunas. Just wanted to throw it out there. And I'm also not putting the Symphonic Warrior engine on this list because I also feel, mainly in Turbo, that it is kind of a staple, and I know some board control players do play it in their in that variant. So I feel like those are kind of more staple-ish, and wanted to stay away from them and go into more actual tech options. Also, link in the description below to my Patreon, if you guys would like to help support the channel, that would be really awesome. I'm still working on still working on some cool, more cool reward ideas and tiers on there for you guys. So yeah. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's video. These cards are in no particular order. They're just kind of random. But the first card I do want to mention is Storing Mirror Force, and this isn't. I guess this somewhat isn't just a Dinomist thing. I just really love that card, and for me, Storing Mirror Force is just a staple card for me, and it's going to be in pretty much about any of my decks. I know this card has kind of just fallen off since its initial release, but it is still a pretty solid card, and we still have mainly today, most monsters still protect themselves or float, and this essentially can get around that and return to the hand if your opponent attacks. It's basically the way I describe this card. It's a compulsory evacuation device on crack that essentially got fused with a Mirror Force. I love this card. It is one of my favorites. The next, and another thing too, it's also, all these cards are budget friendly. Storing Mirror Force has commons, which are a little under $1. So for all you budget players out there, this is definitely a video for you guys. The next card on this list is Speedroid Passing Glider. If you don't know what this card is, it's a wind level 5 machine monster that's basically a pendulum cyber dragon. I mean, there's not really much to say about it, but it is pretty solid. It's pretty good. I know I'm not currently playing it now in my current Turbo variant, but I did play this for quite a bit in board control and going into Turbo. It's a pretty solid card, and I enjoy it. The only issue I actually have with it is it does clash with Dinomist Ceratops, so do keep that in mind. And this card's really cheap. You can actually get this card for a couple pennies off a TCG player. It's just that cheap. Moving on. So the third slot on this, and as I said, these are in no particular order. I'm actually grouping 2 cards together on this. And this is actually something I've tried recently in board control. And it works, and I actually really enjoy playing these. And that's Phantom Knight Sword and Phantom Knight Wings. Excuse me. So, if you're wondering why I put these on this list, because if you look at my board control variant, there's actually 2 cards in there that work really well. These work really well with. One is actually I'm going to mention on this list, so I'm going to hold off on that. But Dinomist Pateran actually works really well with it. These cards are basically kind of an alternative to limit removal, because you will get to keep your Pateran, and being able to essentially boost that Pateran and have some protection on it is pretty nice. And plus, if the Pateran stays on the field or your opponent runs into it, and you activate Sorter Wings, your opponent runs into it, they get their monster destroyed. You get a search, and being able to just run over stuff with Pateran multiple times is really cool, and really nice, really good, and you get some searches off. Overall, a pretty good time, and I just enjoyed playing them. As for the ratios, that's up to you guys. I personally like 2 swords and 1 wings. And if you are playing board control, this would mainly be for board control. But you definitely want to be careful with the ratios on this, because you don't want to run a lot of traps. And you are going to be running Howling, so that's definitely probably going to want to have a slot on the field for that, and definitely probably for a charge. So, just throwing it out there. Be a little wary on that. But you should definitely at least try it out, I feel. I enjoyed it, and it worked. Surprisingly. Worked pretty well. The next card on this list, this is actually an engine that I really love and enjoy. I think it's great. And this is the Constellation Engine I made. It basically consists of 3 copies of Constellation Engine and a copy of Constellation Pleiades. And both are relatively cheap too. Phantom Knight Sword Wings are also really cheap. They have common prints you can get around 10 cents. Constellation Engine has a secret rare printing for also around 10 cents, and a dual terminal printing for around 50 cents. So, and then Pleiades, you can get the gold rares for literally under $1. You could make this engine for less than $2, and it's definitely worth trying out if you are playing Turbo and you are playing Skull Dread. I feel like those are the 2 things you want to have if you're gonna play this engine. And it's pretty good and crazy. What you basically do is, what Zubin Shmali does is, whenever he's normal or special summoned, you search your deck for another Constellar monster, and he can search himself. So what you do is you pendulum summon the first Constellar Zubin Shmali, you have the Skull Dread out, and then you use the Skull Dread's effect to special summon the other Constellar Zubin Shmali that you got off of searching. You got from the search off the first one. So you pendulum the first one, you get the search, you have the second. You special summon it off of Skull Dread, you get to search a third one. So you thin your deck out by 2 cards right there. And you can get you can XYZ overlay them. Wow, I'm really excited about it. To make Constellar Pleiades, which I think is a really good and pretty kind of underrated card. He's basically a compulsory evacuation device on legs. And honestly, I feel like that's just pretty good right now, especially with the fact that monsters are very floaty these days. So yeah, overall, pretty good and fun engine. I really enjoy it, and it's probably maybe my favorite one. The next card I want to mention, or the last card I'm going to mention, and this one I really, really love. It's Barrier Statue of the Torrent. This card is just so much fun. It's so good, and it's really cheap. You can get this card for around 50 cents, and it works wonders. For the longest time when I played board control, this was a staple 3 of mine, and it worked. And the thing was, too, whenever I drew 2 copies of it, they were never, it was never essentially, the second copy was never a dead draw, for me at least. Might be different depending on how you guys see it, but if I drew 2 of them, I was fine with it. It was just really fun, really trolly. And it was so much fun. Turn 1, if, having the Howling and the Bear Statue Torrent, I could end with that and I was safe. I was fine. Barrier Statue Torrent is really annoying to play around for your opponents, at least the ones I have here. A lot of people hate that card here, and it's great. It's the madness this card causes is just great. I love it. It's so much fun, and it's like you get so much out of it for very little. It's crazy. The only thing is, if you are playing this, I know it's happening a few times. If you want to make some XYZs like Cyber Dragon Infinity, you need to get that out first before you make this. So you do have to play around it just a little bit. But there are some nice, really good water XYZ options you could throw in your deck if you are going to use this. That you could just throw in. Go for it. It makes it a bit. It'll make it a little easier. But this card is just so good, and it's just the madness that this card has caused for me is just great. So those are my favorite five tech cards for Dinomist. I'm not saying these are the best cards, but they're my personal favorites. What are y'all's personal favorite tech options for Dinomist? I would love to know, because I know you Dinomist players watch these. Or watch my Dinomist videos, so I love interacting with you guys. So yeah, what are y'all's favorites? What are y'all's thoughts about these? I'd love to know. If you like this video, hit that like button. Go ahead and drop a comment. Want to see more of my content, especially Dinomist content? Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification button next to it so you get notified when my videos come out. I do 4 to 5 videos a week. And if you guys are feeling pretty nice, go ahead, check out my Patreon, donate to the channel, help this channel out. I mean, if you guys, the more you guys help out, the more I can do, the more content I can make for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. You guys are awesome.